So my name is Saad, and this is Lee Jokel. We're the co-founders of SiteLighter. First and foremost, we want to thank you for letting us be here. We're absolutely honored. It's the rare occasion that we get to speak to a crowd that's academically bent, and it will realize the intellectual capabilities of what we can do rather than speaking to VCs where we're talking about growth curves and business plans all day long. So about a year and a half ago, my little brother gives me a call and he's like, "Hey man, I'm dropping out of college." And I was like, "Hey man, no you're not, and I'll tell you why. First, I paid for your college. Second, your education is going to be the single largest differentiator between your success and not, and honestly, I don't think you're smart enough to make that call. But here's what's happening. I'm going to drive up to school, and from 8 a.m. until midnight every single day for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to work with you to push you through all the way." And he said no. I showed up regardless, and here's what happened. I'm looking over his shoulder. He has 4 papers to do over the course of 3 weeks. And he goes to Google and he does a search results. He gets 300 million different search results, and he's incredibly overwhelmed. Then he starts copying and pasting pieces of information he needs, putting them into a Word document, stopping what he's doing, writing some of his corresponding thoughts on a white sheet of paper. And he does this 15 or 20 times over the course of 3 hours, looks down at his screen and goes, "Holy crap, I have 20 open tabs, a Word document full of copy and pasted stuff, and a white sheet of paper I can't even read anymore." And then he tried getting up and walking away, and I have to literally grab him and sit him down. And I'm like, "Dude, what's going on?" He's like, "Man, I got all these facts, I gotta structure my argument, I gotta write a paper, I gotta proofread, I gotta do a bibliography." And I was like, "Dude, listen, life will get a whole lot more difficult, I promise you. This is not that serious." So Lee and I started digging around. We're like, how big is this problem? And what we realized is that students spend approximately 302 million hours per year on these time-consuming, non-value-added processes. So Lee and I said, let's do something about this. Quit our jobs, we created this iPad case, we funded the business for the beginning, and we now live in 2 lofts with 9 of our developers and our marketing guys. We are the definition of a startup. So what's the solution? The first solution is very simple. It's an elegant, downloadable browser plugin. You highlight information. Once you highlight information, we automatically save it. We let you enter in your own thoughts and processes while they're still fresh in your mind. And then we automatically create the corresponding bibliographic citation. Now, the interesting thing is we put it into this framework. Remember those note cards you guys used to have to do in school, move them around on the floor? I see a couple smiles out there. Well, we created a framework just like that for students. So now what they can do is press a button, their facts and text citations, thoughts and comments, and their bibliography is fully formatted, sent to a Word document. They love it. Then we started saying, you know what, research is it's this really lonely time. And how can we actually go ahead and recreate the collegial feelings you get working in a group? So we built a social layer on top of SiteLighter. The social layer, and this is a student dashboard, allows you to see what other people in the community are doing at any given time so you don't feel that lonesome feeling. Then after that, we said, you know what, let's just try something. Let's go ahead and vet a bunch of students. Let's give them the ability to publish some of their facts to the web and other students by pushing a button, adding an actual picture, and we created what we call knowledge cards. These knowledge cards are just collections of facts that we've vetted ourselves and believe are useful. And then we said, you know what, let's just publish, I don't know, 5,000 of them. Published 5,000, they quickly got about 1 million page views. So we started this company last year in December. We've done 0 marketing. It's made it out to about 1,500 paid schools. And if you guys are a bunch of VCs, we might have to show you growth curves, but hopefully you guys are happy with this statement right here. The other thing, too, is we found that students have gone from capturing approximately a quarter citation to about 11.5 over the course of a year and a quarter, which shows that students are engaged. Last year, a company called Cengage came to us, formerly Thomson Reuters Learning, behind Pearson and McGraw-Hill, 3rd largest academic publisher in the space, and said, guys, we love what you're doing. We have this huge database of academic content, about 160 million different pieces. How about you guys build a premium product that sits on top of it, serves suggestions up to people, and allows people to search all the way through it? And we said, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. One of the things we're doing right now, we just got off a development call, is we're actually integrating Google Docs into our product. So now you press a button, Google Docs pops up, drag your facts right in, and all of a sudden you're typing, and you haven't even left the entire product. So just in summary, what have we created? We've created this tool that allows you to do research. It allows you to organize content. It also allows you to write. We've built this social layer on top of it. And over the next year, what we're really going to spend a lot of time doing is making sure we go to all these great publishers and LMSs and figuring out how we can become the glue of the rapidly evolving digital academic universe. So now the next point is what's really exciting. Unfortunately, we went to teachers and we said, tell us about your problems. And they said, man, students have lost the ability to think. And we said, yeah, we completely get that. They also said, too, I spent about 15 to 25 minutes with every single one of my students who's done poorly on a paper just trying to diagnose what actually went wrong. And this is It's incredibly frustrating. And Lee and I figured out it's about 333 million hours teachers spend each year trying to diagnose their students' problems after they've written a paper. And we kept on thinking to ourselves, I bet you we can give them a solution. And that's the equivalent of 230,000 teaching jobs if we can actually give them back that time. So for a second, I want to take a step back. I want to review what the critical thinking process is, and this is going to make a little bit of sense. Once the students determine what the actual objectives of an assignment are, they go ahead and they go out to let's call it the internet, and they find all these facts. After they find all these facts, they start bringing them together. And they start figuring out how all these fit together and they can come to a coherent argument. And once they do that, they go ahead and communicate it out to the world. Now, what we've done over at SiteLighter is we've built a framework that actually encompasses 3 of these phases. So now let's just say a student determines their objectives. After they determine the objectives, what they do is they say, I want to go to my Google Doc and write something, maybe a hypothesis or a thesis statement. And then if you look at the bottom of the screen, there's this little blue dot forming. And what that basically is saying, hey, we know you're writing, we know how much time you're spending. Then let's say they decide to go out to the internet. They go capture some facts, and we basically say, hey, we know which pages you're going to. We also know what you find is important. We know how long you're staying on those pages. And let's say they decide to come back to the Google Doc, and sorry I'm making you guys dizzy. And we also, once again, say, we know what you're doing. And go ahead right through the process. They start going through this thinking process. We start creating what this looks like a color-coded map on the bottom of the screen. We're calling these cognitive prints. And I want everyone to take a second and really understand this concept. This is just a color-coded analysis of what a student is doing over time as they go through an unstructured critical thinking process. It's pretty cool. So this is just the beginning of where we believe this technology can take us. And what's so interesting about this is we understand where they're researching. We understand where they begin to organize content. We begin to understand how they're actually structuring their content. We understand how they're writing. And we were running market research with teachers, and they would literally have this sigh of relief. And they would say stuff like, you know how much easier you just made my job? You're literally creating a window into my student's mind. And we said, yeah, well, hopefully that's what we're going after. Got to speed up a little bit. Go ahead. So we basically said, okay, so what do we do with all this stuff? We locked down about 25 different pilots across the nation that are starting in June, and we said, we're not exactly sure how to use this information, but we want to work with you to figure out how to make it useful. We can aggregate all this information for a specific class and look at which cognitive prints are most indicative of successful papers, which you see on the top. And on the bottom, what you can say is we're going to take a look at your student, and you can see that this one has spent approximately 60% less time in their assignment, is not entering any commentary, which really is an indicator they're not thinking about how those facts relate to the larger picture. And they're also not spending any time organizing. One of the other things I'm just going to touch on very quickly is because we understand what individual cognitive prints look like, because we're working on Google Docs, which is a collaborative platform, what we can essentially do is take a look at the flow of information of a team over time to begin understanding what their weaknesses are, their strengths, and how they can improve. So in summary, we're going to tie this up real quick. We're helping students identify what their critical thinking styles are. We're actually helping them understand how they can get better grades, and here's the crazy thing. We might even be able to teach them how to think a little bit better. From teams, we're helping them understand what their dynamic is, and we're also teaching them how they work in real-world settings, which are really great for their careers. And for teachers, we're providing them with a targeted understanding of their students' problems. We're giving them a more effective way to speak to their students, and also, too, let's give them a little bit of time back, because we know teachers are overworked and underpaid. This is what we want to come back tomorrow and speak to you about. We have a demo, but the basic gist of it is we believe with this kind of analysis, we can start providing schools with very thorough understanding of how they can target their curricula. We believe we can help them create teams better. We also believe that this starts spilling over into the corporate environment. We can start saying, hey, look, as knowledge workers become a much larger part of your workforce, we can tell you how to assess them as they're coming in. We can tell you how to make them work more efficiently. And because we then understand how people are working in teams, online, and individually online, we believe we can start to relate that into the real world to uncover not only cognitive but non-cognitive cues of how individuals work together and make them work more efficiently. So what are we looking for? We got some pilot schools, we got some great schools. We would love 2 more awesome universities. The other thing too is we're not the smartest people in the world, but we are here because we know you guys are a whole lot more intelligent than us, and we're looking to put together an academic advisory board, which we already have begun. It has a couple of really good names on it, and we're looking for some individuals that would love to come on board and help us think through this thing. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate your time. You guys did a great job too.